Howdilly Doodly, neighborinos. This is the Metal Hammer of Doom, and I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radledge. And tonight is the night. It's a beautiful night. We are reviewing Phoenix, Arizona metalcore band, or as they like to call it, purveyors of the Nedal music, Okilly Dokilly, their sophomore effort, Howdilly Twodilly. That's Twodilly, everybody. Two, get it? T-W-O, two, dose, the second, Twodilly. Got it? Let's move on. Joining me tonight is a panel of Simpson experts and Jesse Starcher. Hello, Jesse.
Well, you got that right. I do enjoy The Simpsons. I just, like I said on our Metal Hammer of Doom Extra, it's not something that I partake in like a good bit of our other friends here on the Rattlechen Broadcasting Network. But I can say, sir, hi diddly ho, neighbor. Hi diddly ho.
Hi diddly dee. Let me ask you a question, Jesse. When you grew up in Russia, were you neighbors with Alexa's husband?
No, and no.
Okay, just wondering. The other person on the planet who got that joke is Simpson expert extraordinaire. He is the last word and the host of Damn You Hollywood, the Marvel Cinematic Universe review podcast, and some fucking MMA show that I got rid of because it sucked. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Winfree, yay!
All right.
Hi, Robert.
I immediately regret so many decisions that I made that led me to this point.
Love you too, buddy. So, real quick, before we introduce our next panel member here, you wanted to be on this show. I asked you to be on this show, some combination of the two. Tell us a little bit about your love and experience with ye olde Simpsons.
I mean, my love for The Simpsons is profound and deep and exceeds that of my affection for the vast majority of the human race.
Indeed.
I was a kid when The Simpsons were really hitting it big, so I watched a lot of it. When I was a small child living in Oregon, I had a neighbor that had like I believe they had the whole first season on VHS tapes because this predates DVDs. That's how old my ass is. And I remember watching the first couple of those pretty consistently, and they're not the best in the history of the show, but they are hilarious in their own right. And when I was horribly depressed going through high school and a little bit of post-high school, there was just an hour block of The Simpsons that my local Fox station would run every night. I think they had one from like 6 to 7 and then one from 10 to 11. And I just would lay down and contemplate the horrors of life and be amused by The Simpsons for an hour or so every night as a means of staving off the existential crises I was going through. So I've seen a lot of Simpsons. I've memorized a lot of Simpsons, and I'm perfectly content to be here and, provide my portion of the trivia and talk about because there's some darn good moments that these guys have chosen to make music out of, and I use music in a little bit of air quotes here.
No, this isn't TV Party Tonight. This is the Metal Hammer of Doom. In 50 words or less, what kind of metal do you tend to listen to? What do you gravitate towards?
Oh, power, a little bit of speed, symphonic, I think are kind of the main ones. So stuff like Sabaton, Lordy, Gwar, Manowar,
so no
Dragon Force.
You're not really into the metalcore?
Not really. That's
Good.
Anything that has. If the lyrics are 50% or more that kind of like growl scream, it's just not my thing.
All right, well, we'll see then how you like this album.
I've already listened to it all. I know what's up. I know what I'm getting into.
Okay, you don't mind letting me do my show, do you?
I mean, I kind of do, but
All right, and joining us, he's back and better than ever, ladies and gentlemen. Straight from the lows near you. It's the Metal Coop, Robert Cooper. How do you do, sir?
Got a knack for making things better.
Feels like 83 weeks has passed since he's last been on here.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a month. Wasn't it like not even a month? Oh, shut up. It took me a second. I'm like, wait a minute, it hasn't been that long.
Catch it before it goes over your head, Robert. Hey, speaking of which, you still got a girlfriend, or she break up with you yet?
Oh no, we did all the stuff. It was fun. It's good. She's listening to this, or she will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told her, I just announced from the rooftops I had the sexual intercourse. So she's
Holy
like, cool.
shit!
You had the sexual event like a Mocklin?
Don't worry, first time, wrong hole.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you tell her right hole, wrong attitude?
Oh, boy.
No, that's funny. And then the best thing ever was right at the finale.
Stop
the
eating your
climax,
microphone.
if you will.
Stop eating the microphone.
Okay, hold on. Is that better?
That's better, sir.
Well, because it's funny, because I'm like on my cell phone, and I'm not used to having any sort of audio quality on my cell phone.
Okay, well, do me a favor. Don't put the cell phone in your mouth, okay?
Like this?
Okay. Just like that, baby. Just like that.
Okay. Yeah, but no, my alarm went off, which was garbage day, from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Okay.
Everybody seen that great movie?
So your
It's a
alarm,
classic.
your
My
alarm.
alarm, yeah, at the finale, and it just yelled "Garbage Day" over and over on a loop.
Wherever you have your phone right now, don't move it.
Yeah, I have it like, I don't know, about 9-10 inches away from me, so it's all right.
Great. Keep it large penis length away from you.
Yeah. Do I just have my mouth open the whole time? I don't really know how to act around those things.
Just think of a huge black dick and keep it that far away. You got it?
Well, that's good.
Winfree,
Shaft is
should
coming
we just
out.
Go ahead and get out of here, Winfree, right now. I mean, this is
like I said, Shaft is coming out soon. I should know exactly how this works.
Jesse? Why are you acting like this isn't how this show normally goes?
Every time I show up, it's really uncomfortable. It's kind of like a pedophile at a family reunion.
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough for introductions. What do you think, Jesse?
Oh, please move on with the show. I'm ready.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get some re-education on. This was actually the first single off this album, Howdilly Twodilly. They made a video for it. We did a Metal Hammer of Doom extra on it. We're going to hear it again. Here we fucking go. This is Okilly Dokilly, Howdilly Twodilly. Get your re-education on. All right, is everyone feeling properly re-educated?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Just relax and let the hooks do their work.
Okilly Dokilly.
All right, let me go over to the Winfree man first. We talked a little bit about this on the Metal Hammer of Doom, but I want all the gruesome details out of you. This was a Treehouse of Horrors, right? Go.
Yes, this is from Treehouse of Horror 5. The short in question is an all-time classic. It's Time and Punishment. The premise being that Homer inadvertently creates a time machine out of his toaster, trying to repair it with plutonium. He goes back in time and then immediately recalls the words of wisdom from his father on the day of his wedding, which were, if memory serves, as follows: if you ever go back in time, don't step on anything, because even the slightest change could have dire unintended consequences. Abe Simpson, the great sage of temporal physics. Homer, of course, being Homer, does stuff. The toaster oven resets. He is transported back to the moment in time that he started the toaster. And this time when he comes up, everything seems normal except Flanders is the unquestioned Lord and Master of the universe. He says something quasi-negative. There's a big... the floor morphs into a television. Flanders shows up. Homer says, "What's that geek Flanders doing on television?" Flanders then decides that, we're going to have to re-educate the entire family. Their house apparently just lives on a flatbed truck. Like, they're just... they have Flanders is so all-powerful that his infrastructure can just upend anyone's living quarters. They all get taken to this facility. The first step in re-education is about 8 hours of smiling. There's a bunch of hooks that come down, hook into the sides of their cheek, and jack their faces up so they all have these horrible grimaces. Homer, of course, looks at the guy next to him and goes, "What are you smiling at?" However, after that's done, Ned comes back on the loudspeaker and goes, "Well, if all that smiling didn't cheer you up, I have a few other things. A glass of warm milk, a good night's sleep, and a total frontal lobotomy." Homer inevitably escapes, resets things with the toaster, and then the Treehouse of Horror episode continues. This episode actually features another of my... I have a great gag that is constantly cut for time on re-airs of this episode. When Homer's escaping, there's a bunch of attack dogs after him, and they're running him down, and he's desperate to try and figure out a way to get by them, and he pulls a string of sausages out of his pocket. And he goes, "I know. Eating these sausages will give me the burst of energy I need to outrun these dogs." Which he proceeds to then do and outrun the dogs.
Nice. So in the video, if you'll remember, Jesse, they do feature the glass of warm milk.
I do.
But he talks about, what is it, marijuana is the devil's lettuce, and then...
another Flanders quote, yes, from a different episode.
He extols the virtues of the tangy brown cider.
Yep. All those were getting played through the video. I don't know if they were part of the lyrics, but yeah, it was.
He actually has a mnemonic device for telling the difference between apple juice and apple cider.
Oh no!
I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but Flanders has one.
Of course he would.
They do a exercise where they're handing power tools and garden tools to each other, and then we have that one guy, Jesse, who brings a donut to class, a glazed donut, and he won't share his weed whacker. And what does he do? What happens to him, Jesse?
Well, I believe the end result, my friends, is a full frontal lobotomy. It's not good.
It's not so bad. They give you the piece of brain they took out to take home in a jar. You can talk to it. Hey, little guy. Mo is lobotomized in that same episode.
So here, let me. I'll kick things off, and I'll kick it over to you guys. I've listened to this whole thing now, and I have to say, this is an example of something I'm going to talk about throughout the rest of this album. Why I like it so much. This is rhythmically a lot more exciting, a lot more energetic, a lot different. Sound like my kids. Has more differentiation than the previous effort. This one I was really enjoying, and Re-Education is a great single off of this to start it up with. And these first few songs, there's some real good ones. It gets a little towards the end, but these first couple here really kick it into high gear. What did you think of it, Jesse?
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. This is a very good representation of some better production compared to what we had on that last album. And I think that they took what they learned from the last album and just improved upon it. As we go through the album, you guys will hear that they've just done so much more, I think, with the options at the end. And granted, I mean, I think Howdilly Doodly was not supposed to go over as well as a lot of people. They became like a viral sensation after that dropped. So, I'm sure they had a little bit more money and a lot more people interested in trying to help them, especially with the production of the album. So I think it shines here. And yeah, you're right. This is a great single to start it off.
I will say this before I kick it over to Cooper, that I feel like they played it very safe with the first album. Like, they rested very heavily on the gimmick of Ned Flanders, and they did not necessarily differentiate the music or do anything interesting with it. This time around, the gimmick's firmly in place, but I thought they played with the boundaries of traditional metalcore and did some really interesting, fun, headbanging stuff with this. This isn't all just them trying to fuck the snare drum into out of existence. Speaking of fucking snare drums, Cooper, what are your thoughts?
I mean, at least they turned the mic on the snare drum and didn't leave it off and have a seizure in the cupboard again like old Lars. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the first album had some bangers, had some good memorable stuff, but I feel like this album really is them kind of being like, okay, well, we got the joke out. How do we become a little more serious? I mean, it's still a fucking Ned Flanders band, but I do feel like musically, and the vocals on this seem a lot. I feel that they're more differentiated than they were in the first one.
By far. This isn't just straight growling through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's different tones of growling too. This one sounded a lot closer to what Brendan Small does with a lot of those Death Clock albums. Mm-hmm. And then you're gonna hear a little bit like in some of the other songs, like there's some stuff that I was like, oh, that sounds kind of closer to like the vocals in Ghost. There's a lot of interesting vocalizations in the album, and while I don't necessarily feel like these guys are shred masters, they do have some really interesting moments musically. Yeah, once they go kind of beyond the kind of just standard, because a lot of it just feels like some of the songs felt like kind of a standard punk fare, but at the same time, it did have the repetition that I guess that sold it.
The instrumentation is more competent on this album than it was in the previous one, where I felt it was a bit one note. But Robert Winfree, what did you think of Re-Education from a purely musical point of view? Did we lose Robert? God damn.
Sorry. I muted my mic so you wouldn't hear me chewing. And yeah. Sorry, my apologies. I don't disagree with anything you guys said musically. Again, the growling is not necessarily my preferred vocalization to consume as a musical medium, but I don't hate it. They've got a good kind of riff going here for. Again, not the slow down snare drum, I believe, part that just kind of that the more bassy one that plays over the actual Re-Education lyric, but
yeah.
The stuff that flows more over the lyrics than the chorus, I kind of dig it. Again, it's not great, it's not terribly complicated, but it doesn't need to be. It just needs to work, and it does.
No, this isn't Mozart, nor does it have to be. All right, Jesse.
I know. Believe me, you don't have to remind me of that.
Jesse, you wanted to say something before we went on to when the comic gets here.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to have an AMA. Well, we didn't. Reddit did. With Head Ned. So Head Ned had an AMA, and what I'll do here as we go through the tracks, I may not be able to jump in with a lot of Simpsons lore, but I can at least read from the internet, and that's what I'll do here.
That's what you do best.
It's like I don't have knowledge, but I know what this guy said.
Exactly.
I have nothing to contribute.
Hey, that level of accurate reporting is sorely lacking in today's society. I, for one, thank you, Jesse.
I'm just glad you're not yelling and screaming that all these years of being a metal fan and you weren't allowed into a concert or something.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Those motherfuckers.
Okay, wait. Hold on, just very briefly. Is that an actual thing or just a gag between you two at this point?
We're making fun of Christian Harloff because I can't get off of that.
Okay, fair enough. Continue to pile on.
I don't know what a Christian Harloff is.
Oh, you haven't heard the Christian Harloff story?
No.
All right, I'm going to play when the comic gets here, and then before I even go to Winfree, I got to tell you about what a fucking douche nozzle this guy is. All right, so here we go. This is When the Comet Gets Here. That is fucking badass. That might be my favorite track on here. When the Comet Gets Here. All right, story time, children. Gather round. So, are you familiar with Collider, Cooper? The website?
Yeah,
Collider?
I am.
Okay. So,
Not the Megadeth album.
Okay,
That's
so
a super collider. We don't talk about that.
Oh,
right.
that's correct.
So one of the talking fuck knuckles that's on that show, he has his own like YouTube podcast called the Jedi Council, which is a shill for Star Wars and Lucasfilm. And,
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Bet you he loves when the fourth was with you. Yeah.
So
I love how that became a pun and then it became a marketing opportunity.
So this fucking guy, live on one of his shows, where he gets paid by Collider to do these things, right? I guess the topic that day they were talking about Galaxy's Edge. Are you familiar with what that is?
Not a clue.
All right, so Disney extended their park to include an entire area dedicated to Star Wars, more than just Star Tours, and they called it
neat.
they called it Galaxy's Edge. There's a bar and some rides, and it's a whole deal, right? I think they have one in California, and I know they have one here in Florida.
They have the Millennium Falcons there. Like they've built a replica of it that's like life size. It's
Cool.
if you're a Star Wars nerd, it's cool.
Yeah. So they were supposed to review Galaxy's Edge on that show, and he was like, I'm gonna have a sandwich. And they were like, but for why? And then he told the story. His justification for it was, I asked ahead of time for free tickets to get into Galaxy's Edge, and seeing as we are media and we have provided coverage for Lucasfilms for all these years, that they should have been given like press passes to experience Galaxy's Edge so that they can then go and talk about it. Well, not only did they not give him the press passes for it, they never even got back to him. I think somebody else on their staff was invited in, but they never got back to him, and he got, in his own words, this isn't even me now, in his own words, he was like, I'm butthurt by it. And he went on this whole rant about how he's been, quote, busting his ass for 5 years being a Star Wars fan, that he deserved to get into Galaxy's Edge for free.
Wow.
That's not
5 whole years.
That's not being a fan.
Yeah. So,
Jeez.
so this
Slow clap for that guy.
But that's not even the best part. So he's going on this rant about how he refuses to talk about Galaxy's Edge. He'll talk about it in 2 years when he goes and and he pays his own money after the crowding dies down. But he's not talking about it now. And so then the producer gets on the microphone. He was like, "But you are going to talk about it because that's your job. That's what we're paying you for." And he was like, "Then get somebody else to host the show because I'm not doing it."
At which point they said, "Fair enough."
He then like a day later or whatever came back on and apologized and said that it was a bit, and and he just made up all these excuses for it. Well, I only found
a bit. You just they called your bluff about getting somebody else to host the show, and you backpedaled in a hurry.
Yeah. So, long story short, too late. So I heard about this because the first place I saw it was Red Letter Media. They just had Rich Evans reacting to the video, which of course he laughed at, and just thought it was the funniest thing ever. The next thing I saw was a deluge, a cottage industry, if you will, of reaction videos to this fucking idiot and explanations as to what happened. And then lastly, the most recent episode of Half in the Bag, they covered Dark Phoenix and Godzilla. And the whole beginning of the bit is them mocking him, but their own way. Like the whole. If you've never seen Half in the Bag, they play VCR repairmen who review movies, and so Mike goes on this whole rant about how he's pissed that they weren't allowed into the VCR Hall of Fame after fixing VCRs for X amount of years. Wah wah, and he actually says on camera, "Have we done this bit long enough?" So, all right. When the comic gets here, Winfree, hit it.
All right, the lyrics they have here largely derive from Season 6, Episode 14, Bart's Comet. This is not exactly a classic necessarily, but I always think of this episode fondly, if nothing else. Bart, while doing... This is the funniest thing. Bart pranks Principal Skinner by having a weather balloon that they try to send up just look like him with a sign that says "I'm Big Butt Skinner," with his butt being the inflated part of the balloon. To punish him, he brings Bart to help him look for comets or celestial bodies that have not been discovered. Because you get a minor prize if you find one, and you get to name it. So Bart has to wake up at 3 in the morning and go out to a promontory with Seymour Skinner, and they look for comets. Seymour stops. It's funny because Prince Skinner is very, very methodical about this. Like, okay, here's our declination, here's our inclination, here's our all the appropriate terminology. Nothing. Moves it a little bit, then immediately recites only one of those numbers change, but he reiterates all of them. Nothing. And this goes on until he sees the weather balloon that's lost some of its altitude so he can go catch it. And as he goes to catch it, Bart looks through I think he smacks the telescope. And it spins around a little bit. Then he looks through it and, convenience of all conveniences, of course, finds a comet. Is able to call it in using a cell phone, names it after himself. And this comet is on a crash course for Springfield specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, it is. As panic begins to set in because infrastructures fail, the government proves useless, this line features, I believe, Homer's famous line, "When will people learn democracy doesn't work?" Well, Dad, what's your plan for when the comet gets here? Don't worry, I've had this thought out for a while. They go over to the Flanders house where they actually have a fallout shelter. He bangs on the door and says, "Get out, Flanders." Flanders, being Flanders, goes, "It's okay, I foresaw this little possibility. Shelter's big enough for both their families. No deal, out." They both get in. They're clearly okay. Then there's another knock on the door later, and it's literally everyone else in the city. "Oh, hey, guys, why aren't you in your shelterinis?" "We ain't got any shelterinis." So he invites everyone in, and they can't actually close the door. So they have to send one person out to face death alone. So they start trying to figure it out via some sort of crappy meritocracy. And at the end, Homer goes, "The only thing we're not going to need in the new world? Left-handed stores. That's you, Flanders. You're out." Flanders then goes, "Well, can't argue with that logic. Alrighty then." He steps out. Right before he steps out, he gives, I can't remember if it's Rod or Todd for the life of me, but he gives one of them a shotgun. Says, "Now, Todd," I think it's Todd, "Daddy might come back desperate to get in, and if that happens, you'll have to shoot Daddy. You understand?" The kid just kind of crying, loads up the double barrel. "I understand." And then he goes out. They shut the door. The whole episode ends not too long after that, but Flanders is out there just singing to himself, I believe, Que Sera. And Homer decides he's not going to stay in here with a bunch of people when that brave man's out there letting them all survive at his expense. He goes out, and naturally everyone then decides, you know what, screw it, I want to die too. They all go out. What actually happens to the comet is exactly what was predicted by Homer. It burns up in the layer of pollution above the city.
Oh,
and by the time it hits the ground, it's no bigger than the head of a chihuahua. But as it falls, it actually hits Flanders' shelter and completely obliterates it. But again, the lyrics from this he says, "Yeah, I'll scream." As he's closing the door and going out, he does say, "I'll scream real loud when the comet gets here, so you'll all know." You actually, I believe, in this song as well, have the line, "Now you might have to shoot Daddy," something like that. I forget exactly, but they do paraphrase that line as well, which again is kind of classic Flanders.
Go ahead.
So no, that's it. Again, this is a fondly remembered episode by, again, me specifically, but it's relatively well thought of, all things considered.
One of the lyrics is something about whistling and then dying or something like that. What is any idea what that quote is?
I couldn't tell you specifically off the top of my head, but as he's out there walking, he does kind of, maybe I'll try whistling to myself. That won't be creepy in an empty city. And he does whistle, and he starts humming, and again, he winds up singing. I want to say it's Que Sera Sera. Okay. That he's actually singing, and then they all go out and they join hands as they're singing as the comet's coming, and then they all see it, and they all run in panic rather than stand in solidarity because Simpsons.
So this has got a badass rhythm to it. I really enjoyed this song. Jesse, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good follow-up. I was still enjoying myself. Listen, let me drop some knowledge here, all right? Top AMA question is, what happens when we eventually run out of Ned quotes? Reuse them, or do we break up and form Progressive Frank? All right, now this was the question. Now somebody's going to have to explain that to me, but Head Ned replied, "Oh man, Progressive Frank, that's gold. We have a couple band ideas if needed. Motown, all the greatest Propane and Discomfort, the King of the Hill death metal band. Bite My Shiny Death Metal, a Bender quote band that is at least 75% metal." So what in the hell is Frank?
Those are so great. I love that man so much for all those answers.
Professor Frank, he'll make you... Wait. Professor Frank, he'll make you something, he'll make you think. Remember what it is?
What is it?
I think it's Make You Laugh, He'll Make You Think. He tries to sing his own theme song during the episode, 32 Short Stories About Springfield.
But he'll never be better than some folks will never... some folks will like Cletus, the slack-jawed yokel. Go ahead.
My favorite of the different ones they say Cletus will do is eat a skunk. Some folk will never eat most folk will never eat a skunk, but then again, some folk will like Cletus, the slack-jawed yokel. Professor Frink is the guy who sounds like Jerry Lewis. He is he's the professor.
Oh.
That taller head, glasses.
Yep.
I guarantee if you saw a picture of him, you'd know who he was.
So back during the attic.
The fuck did he say?
I don't know. He's on 45 for some odd reason. Get back to 33. That's a record joke, everybody. There was I remember there was one episode of Raw during the Attitude Era. Something
really was there?
Something having to do with Al Snow and Mick Foley, and my friend just busted out with, "Some folks will never be hardcore, and then again, some folks will like Al Snow, the hardcore yokel."
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And not at all inaccurate.
Yeah, I laughed pretty hard at that. My buddy Chuck was very quick-witted. All right, anything else there, Jesse?
No, go ahead.
Mushmouth, you got anything?
Wasn't that bad? Damn.
It's horrible.
Would you please get your phone out of your underwear?
I had it against my shirt, that's all.
Oh.
I didn't realize how badly it would affect the audio quality. Is it any better?
It's worse, dude. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh.
But how did you do this? I mean, I'm concerned.
I think the storm picked up and I have T-Mobile as a provider.
Okay.
Is that any better?
A little bit better.
It's good enough. Quick, 50 words or less on this song. Go.
Not eat it distance. It's the same distance I had that when I was eating the damn thing. Anywho, it was a song. I enjoyed it. Like, honestly, Winfree explaining it was more enjoyable.
Okay. Moving. No, you're done. We're moving on. The next one is called Murder House.
House.
Usually not a fan of like downturned doomy metal. That's more Cooper's thing. But I have to say, there's something about the production of it on this album, and what they're doing, specifically how they're using it for each song, that I'm kind of digging. Like again, that a song with that tempo, I wouldn't normally enjoy, but I found myself digging that one. So what's the Moida House all about, Winfree? It's Moida! Right, Jesse?
Moidas!
It's Moida.
First of all, I agree with you musically. I can kind of sit there and, bang my head a little bit to that one as it goes along. And I'm not normally into that kind of music, but it works here. This one works. I especially like the drum work, but the quotes that are used in this one primarily, I believe, almost entirely, come from Season 9, Episode 9, Realty Bites. Marge becomes a realtor. I forget the premise of that. Forgive me. And Lionel Hutz convinces her to do it, and she becomes a realtor and is feeling great, and then, oh, and by the way, if you don't sell a house in your first week, you're fired. Because, seriously, realty is a terrible business. So she's trying to sell different houses, and Marge is just too darn honest. She can't lie to people to sell the house. This features one of the best Lionel Hutz lines ever. Marge, there's the truth. Frowny face shakes his head. And the truth. Big smile and nod. So she tries to sell Flanders in particular a house, and she keeps trying, and every house that she shows him, he's willing to buy. And then she winds up going, no, but there's this problem with it, or it's too small, It's, it's not a fixer-upper, it's run down, that kind of thing. And then they get to the house in question, which Marge very recently found out is, in fact, the home that hosted a notorious murder in the city of Springfield. And she is able to sell the house to Ned, and she bites her tongue and doesn't tell them that there was a murder that took place here, which is actually illegal. You are legally required to disclose that. Mm-hmm. But Marge is now worried that Flanders, like the previous occupant, is going to snap and murder his family, whatever. And this leads to a bunch of lines of dialogue that are only bizarre when viewed through the lens that Marge and therefore the audience has. Stuff like, we just want to get to our new home and rest in peace because they're just moving and it's late at night. Wow, look at this house, kid. It's big and the acoustics are so interesting. You could scream bloody murder and no one would hear. So you get a lot of stuff like that. And they chose well as far as the lyrics, because I think this is one of the ones that Jesse was convinced came from a Treehouse of Horror episode, and it does not.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on you, Starcher.
A lot of dark songs throughout this album. I was like, it's
almost like they're a metal band.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I resent that remark on behalf of Glory Hammer. There's not a dark moment in that album.
Look, I like Manowar too. It's not all dark. I'm just really, come on, Jesse. You got to expect a little bit of the darkness and be surprised if it's not there, not the other way around.
I agree.
What do you got for me, Starcher?
Oh, let me read you a little something here, okay? By the way, I like that song. I think that the tempo and the feel of the song fits the subject matter. Okay.
By the way, don't laugh at him, Winfree. Okay, because if he wasn't reading off an AMA, I'd be either getting a list or Angry Metal Guy or some other weird thing that just he brings on the show. That's what we pay him.
Content. It's called content, you son of a bitch. I'm bringing it.
Considering that Mark,
right, content with it.
I'm defending you.
Considering that less than 24 hours ago, give or take, Mark made the mating call of a walrus to try and get me to do boxing commentary in the name of content.
All right, Mark, we talked about the Neds on the Metal Hammer of Doom, because you ran down the list.
Bedhead, Dreadhead, Ned, Dead Ned, whatever.
Yep. So somebody asked them why did they come up, or how did they come up with the names for the Neds? Obviously, Head Ned is the lead singer. So Head Ned's response is, the English language only contains so many words that rhyme with Ned, so some are a stretch, but many have relevance. Thread Ned had much nicer pants. Stead Ned was originally just going to be rhythm guitar, and he put in parentheses steady rhythm. Cred Ned was very honest and credible. Dead Ned Dead Ned was the guy we killed in the music video. Bled Ned once cut his hand while drumming and bled all over the white drum heads. And for our current members, Dread Ned, believe it or not, Mark Radulich, has dreads. Bed Ned can nap pretty much anywhere, and Zed Ned was the last Ned we could come up with.
Terrific.
Okay, I seriously love this guy. This is the best.
Robert Cooper, if you could please take the phone out of your mouth or up your ass or wherever it is you have it and speak with it about 7 inches from your face.
Is this all right?
Ugh. Just go
Is it
on.
bad?
It's good enough. Go.
Does that do better?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm using the phone again. All right. Yeah, I enjoyed the Doom elements in this song. It almost seemed creepy in a way, I guess, to fit with the more horror theme. But I really felt like it helped continue the diversification of this album. Kind of, I feel like this album's doing a really good job of legitimizing the band. Kind of like, I don't necessarily feel that I really don't know if even Austrian Death Machine got as diverse in their music.
No, I think Austrian Death Machine was a much more competent band than this one.
Okay. It's been a while since I've listened to them, so I'm not.
Go back and listen to Total Brutal.
Oh.
Triple Brutal.
Or
double. Get to the chopper!
All right, let's move on here. We are all very talky people, and we're going to be here till midnight if we keep going at this pace. So.
There's medleys. Medleys can be had.
No, but then Robert's going to spend the next hour explaining like 3 different episodes, so I don't want to do it that way. All right, so here we go. Yo, this is the scenario. This is I Can't, It's a Geo. I can't. It's a Geo.
This is my favorite one off of here. It's what, like a minute and a half?
Yeah.
It's so damn funny.
Faster. Obey your master. All right.
No.
Speaking of obeying your master, go Winfree.
All right. First of all, just very briefly, my first car was an '89 Geo Metro, so I sympathize entirely. I empathize completely with the 4 cylinders that will barely get to 60 miles an hour, but on its worst day is still 35 miles per gallon.
I'm living my love life.
The episode in question here, this is an all-time great Simpsons bit. It's from season 5, episode 16, Homer Loves Flanders. The very famous episode when the two of them become best friends. The scene in question comes when you can look at the scene on YouTube. Homer is he's at the front door of the Flanders house with a couple of golf putters, inviting them to mini golf. And Ned, and frankly all of the Flanders clan, just like, you know what, Homer, we need a break. It's nice that we're not trying to kill each other anymore, but can you go away for a weekend or something? And to escape Homer, they all pile into the Geo. They drive through the garage door. They don't even open it. They just bust through it and take off. And Homer, standing at the front door, goes, Nettie, Nettie, and starts chasing him with these putters in hand. The scene is a just straight up homage to the T-1000 chasing the car in Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Oh, nice.
Homer doesn't even blink. He runs, jumps, and is able to hook one of the putters around the bumper, sticks the other one through the rear windshield, and is pulling himself up. And as he's chasing, the Maud looks at Ned and goes, faster, honey, and his response is, I can't, it's a Geo. And they're able to hit a bit of a curve, and they toss Homer off to the side, and he rolls over onto a lawn, and he kind of posts himself up, and he goes, I guess they didn't see me.
What'd you think of the song real quick?
I liked it. This song is kind of gimmicky done right. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, okay, faster, we're going to speed up the tempo, faster, and then finally I can't. This is clearly maximal velocity for all parts of the equation, and it's a Geo. This is probably my second favorite off of this, behind Murder House, but again, I like that it's short, it's to the point, it gets a bit of the gimmick across, and I have no real complaints about the song in that respect.
Starcher, my love, Starcher, my love.
Oh, well, enjoyed the song, obviously, as I said at the beginning. So somebody asked Head Ned, did you have to jump through any legal hoops to form the band? Which, yeah, that seemed like a pretty that's a really good question. And Head Ned said, we always thought it would be a possibility, but so far they haven't had to. I'm very surprised.
Well, they were just they were on an April 7th, I believe, episode of The Simpsons. They were in the credits. The girl,
Oh, no kidding.
I believe it's the girl who can't say dough or something like that. I just had it up in the wiki, but yeah, they were in the credits of a recent Simpsons episode. So
That's big time, in my opinion. That's big time.
I'm guessing at one point Fox was just like, let them have their fun. It's fine. Now The Simpsons is owned by Disney, and I'm pretty sure they're all getting sued. Because Disney.
Probably. I actually would kind of doubt that. I mean, look, just because the Simpsons fan base loves this kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this as a proud member of the Simpsons fan base. I love this kind of crap. I love that there's an actual Duff brewery in Argentina. That's been under lawsuit for since its inception.
You have no idea how much I want to go see Okilly Dokilly touring with Max Sabbath, because they're coming to Tampa.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know if I'm going to make it to that one, given my my stuff that's going on. But I swear to God, if I can get to Max Sabbath and Okilly Dokilly, I will be there. All right, Cooper, go. Nope. Try again.
Nope.
Your microphone hates you, dude.
Like back?
It's rough.
Okay, which way do I need to go?
Guide him through it, Mark. Guide him through it.
It doesn't help. Which way do I need to go?
No, you're
There
fine.
you go. That's it,
Perfect.
right there.
For the love of
Perfect.
God, stop moving.
Don't move.
Unfortunately, it's so erratic. It's very hard to pick one. Okay, that's good. Am I good?
Please talk.
Dude.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was just gonna say Austrian Death Machine. We'll throw that as the third member. Even though I don't know if they've got over the whole Tim Lambesis got out of jail, but he still tried to kill his wife thing.
I forgot about that. What did you think of the song?
How could you? It was great. He tried to hire a guy at the gym to do it.
Oh no, I remember the story now that you mentioned it. But I spent a lot of time thinking about the fate of Tim Lambesis.
Yeah, but honestly, this song was a great A plus use of gimmick. Is perfect. It's gimmicky, but it's fun, and it's a good reference. This song's perfect. Honestly, if I were still 16 and the only way I could listen to all of my music on the computer was to burn them on an 80-minute CD, this would be definitely a filler somewhere in between.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, this next one is called Bulletproof Glass.
If she knew that
So again, slower tempo, not usually in my wheelhouse, but I dig that song. Robert Winfree, give me the Dirty Nuggets.
Ugh.
Not really a fan of this song. This one, I think, is one of the weaker ones on this album.
Mm-hmm.
The interaction itself is a surprisingly obscure one that I'm amazed I remembered off the top of my head. It took me forever to find the specific episode, but I remembered it. I remembered the gist of it. The premise of this one is Homer and Ned become a bounty hunting duo.
I remember that.
It's season 20, episode 1, Sex, Pies, and Idiot Scrapes. In this instance, Homer is chasing down Snake because Homer is a bounty hunter now and Snake's a wanted criminal. He chases him down. He actually says, "Stop, in the name of a private citizen with no connection to the law." Chases him down and tries to talk him out of killing him because Snake has a gun and Homer has nothing. Ned shows up. Ned's also a licensed bounty hunter because of course he is. And he kind of taunts Snake and essentially baits him into shooting. But as he fires, there were a couple of workmen holding up a sheet of bulletproof glass over the end of the alley. The bullet hits the glass, ricochets back, and hits Snake. And they decide to form a duo after that, and it ends with them stuck in concrete together and Ned literally reciting the Bible verse by verse, and Homer deciding, you know what, you can take me to jail as long as you make it life.
Jesse, what you got for me?
Yeah, I'm in agreement there with it being one of the weaker ones off of here.
No, you're both wrong.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I've really noticed with this album that I don't recall hearing a lot of on the last one is the synthesizer.
Yeah.
It seems to be more prominent here, and I think it fits well. It's featured in a lot of these songs, so they did fine. So somebody asked Ned, said, "Hey, what are the chances you guys do a Christian rock record?" I feel like Ned would approve. And Ned says, "We'll probably stick to Nedal as our main genre, but that could be interesting." Now, the point of that's boring. That's a boring response. The fun is in, of course, the Reddit comments, to where we have the following, as people start laying out Christian Nedal band names. And one person says, "As I lay diddly." Then we have August Burns Ned. Skill diddly illet. And then St. Paul that remains. Good stuff there. Good stuff.
All right, you, Mushmouth, go.
No, your Aussie impression is really coming along.
I know. I didn't have to snort any ants to get there. Yeah, I have kind of mixed feelings on this song. I feel it was kind of ghosty in nature.
Yeah.
More to a discount way, but it was different, and I appreciated that. Also, yeah, I had no idea of the reference on that one. I stopped watching The Simpsons a very long time ago. As I said, leave the memories alone.
Yeah.
Is
your girlfriend a Simpsons fan?
No, not at all.
Does your girlfriend even remember The Simpsons, or is she too young for that?
I did kidnap her out of a daycare. I made the joke today that I once told a customer that I looked like a serial killer, and he said, "No, you look more like a pedophile."
Terrific. All right, let's move this along. This next one is called Claw My Eyes Out. So, Robert Cooper, you were talking about like this. Some of this album has a kind of an off-brand resemblance to Ghost, and I'll tell you, "Claw My Eyes Out" is probably the most Ghost song on here by far.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've come to notice from my time in the public, as well as the occasional partaking of the dating sites that I once did and now no longer do. Knock on wood. Yeah, Ghost is really in vogue. Like I call it, they've pretty much moved to the top of my quote unquote girlfriend metal
What
list.
the fuck is that, dude?
Girlfriend metal. It is in my. I've always used it to describe bands.
Hang on. Is girlfriend metal what I had to experience on Sunday when my wife dragged me to Hootie and the Blowfish?
Oh,
That is far from metal, sir.
what the fuck?
Jesse, did you see the videos I
is
sent
that black
you?
metal?
Hey.
No?
No, he's making a racial joke. Jesse, did
The
you
lead
see...
singer of Hootie and the Blowfish is black, Jesse.
Thanks, Winfree.
Waka Waka. And it is that level of humor that you can come to expect on the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network.
That was perfect.
That really was.
Fucking perfect.
Jesse, did you see the videos I sent you? One of the bare naked ladies doing a whole lot of love, and then
No.
the fucking rap medley from Hootie and the Blowfish.
No, I haven't watched them. I
No.
saw you send them to me, but I haven't had a chance to watch them though.
Oh my
Amazing
god,
stuff.
I almost want to play him on this show, but I don't want to be up till midnight. So real quick to the Roberts, Bare Naked Ladies opened up for Hootie and the Blowfish on what they called the group therapy tour, and
Because you're all going to need it after that concert.
you ain't kidding. So
Poor husbands.
the sing,
I actually do kind of enjoy some of the Bare Naked Ladies stuff.
No, yeah. If I'm being fair, it's all kind of fun music. But so the drummer and the singer switched places. The singer got behind the drum set, and they did a cover of "Whole Lotta Love" to end their set. And I'm not kidding. Google fucking YouTube this. The singer of the Bare Naked Ladies sounds. I'm gonna get this right tonight. Sounds just like Robert Plant. It's unreal. Like here's this fat bald guy, kind of looks like me, running around on stage, going, "I want a whole lot of love," and it's like, holy crap! If I'd shut my eyes and forgotten where I was, I'd honestly thought I was listening to Led Zeppelin. They did a really awesome job with it, but I was truly, truly blown away by Hootie and the Blowfish in the middle of one of their songs, just doing a medley of Public Enemy's "Bring the Noise."
Wow.
Digital Underground's "Freaks of the Industry," and then there was another one, like right in the middle of one of their songs. It's like Google that shit. It's fucking unreal. All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say to explain girlfriend metal though.
Yes,
It's the heavy metal that you can send a girl that has no idea or care of what metal is, and it's just accessible enough to where they'll buy into it.
yeah. I remember when I was in college and I tried to get laid with that shit. It didn't work very well, but but it was a method. It was definitely a method.
Like kind of what I started out with, like the really soft stuff Opeth did, the really acoustic stuff, like stuff like that. That doesn't have very sharp teeth to it that you can kind of ease somebody in on. Ghost are like, they're a fantastic band, but they're very much in that vein of they're not very threatening, and they're fairly accessible in terms of just genre. So I think they're kind of in vogue at this point.
I remember back in grad school, there was this one girl I wanted to bang, and I was trying to build a friendship with her, get to know her, and of course I was doing it all wrong. I was telling her about me because who gives a fuck, and should have been asking her about her. But I was trying to get her to listen to metal, so I started off with, Jesse, get this, I started off with some Clutch from Jam Room, because I figured that's not threatening. This little snowflake will, I think will dig this. Too heavy for her. Too heavy for her. Clutch,
Jam Room?
Jam Room. Too heavy.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've learned just go as soft as you go with stuff that is a metal band and it's not really that metal, but
Yeah, go with something that doesn't sound like in any way like metal.
that's right. Just slip it in, just the tip.
Right. just spread. You know what? Never mind. Robert Winfree.
Oh, wait a minute.
Stop myself. Claw my eyes out. Go.
This should be the most readily recognizable of all the ones from this album, or any ones that they do that they will ever do. It's some sort of demon. Isn't that cute? It tried to claw my eyes out. Comes from the absolutely classic Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 4 short Terror at 5.5 feet, which is of course a riff off the classic Twilight Zone episode where William Shatner is stuck on an airplane and there's a gremlin outside taking apart the plane. Bart is stuck on the bus and there's a gremlin on the side of it tearing the bus apart, and he keeps trying to get people's attention, and no one believes him, and it's never there when they see it. Hilarity ensues. He's able to knock it off the side of the bus by throwing an ignited flare at it, which is great. As groundskeeper Willie and Principal Skinner try to pull him back into the bus, Skinner implores Willie to pull, and Willie, in classic Willie fashion, replies, "I'm doing all the pulling, you blouse-wearing poodle walker." Anyway, the gremlin is knocked off. Flanders sees it and stops to pick it up because he's Ned Flanders. He wraps it in a blanket. He looks at it's some sort of horrible demon monster. Wraps it in a blanket, tries to warm it up. It slashes at him. He dodges, and he goes, "Oh, isn't that cute? He tried to claw my eyes out." This plays off at the end of the short when Bart, being confined to an asylum, just happy to get some rest, sees the gremlin pop up outside of the window on the back of the ambulance, and it's holding the severed head of Ned Flanders, who goes, "Howdilly ho, Bart."
All right, speaking of trying to get laid in grad school, Jesse, go.
You
befuddled him.
Yeah, what? I don't remember that. So, I guess one of the things I'd like to point out here is that I enjoyed the song. I think this is probably one of the betters off the second half of this album here. The song lengths on the new album are definitely longer than that last album we got. We're looking at, I think the longest song on the last album, I think, was like 6 minutes, but the rest of them ran like 2.5. You'll see the bulk of these songs are at least, I don't know, between 3 and 4 minutes. But yeah, I like Claw My Eyes Out. I thought it was pretty decent. So what is the process of writing a Ned Flanders metal song? Do you watch The Simpsons while writing them, or just have random favorite quotes you use as a base? Head Ned says, the first record was largely based on favorite quotes. For the second record, I actually sat down and watched the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons over the course of a month. I kept a notebook nearby to jot down any Ned quotes. Pretty simple, but effective.
And this definitely goes back to my Fra Diavolo thing of sometimes you just need a gimmick and text to read from for you to put together a metal album.
Yeah, perfect. Recipes,
God damn it, Fra Diavolo. All right, let's move on here. This next one is called Purple Drapes. Purple rain Purple Rain. Robert Winfree, Purple Drapes.
This also comes from the previously mentioned episode, Realty Bites. As Marge is trying to sell the Flanders on this house, you hear off-screen a high-pitched squee. That turns out to be Ned Flanders. He goes, "Purple drapes! All my life I've wanted purple drapes!" And then he squeezes again. It's meant to play up. It sounds vaguely like. I mean, we're going to hear, if you follow this around, there's a similar scream he does in an episode that we're going to talk about in a couple of songs. Ned just screams like a girl. And his excited, they play it off a bit like a similar sound to the famous Psycho theme. Just as for shock value to turn around, I think it's one of the most Ned things ever that all his life he's wanted purple drapes as though he's incapable of buying new ones for the house he currently has.
All right. Jesse Starcher, Purple Drapes.
Well, I love how it starts off like it's so, it's metal as balls, and then all of a sudden it's just like.
It has that like Whiplash by Metallica feel, doesn't it? At least the last part.
Yeah, and then you're like, I thought the song was over for a second, and of course they kind of bring it in with just some beautiful medley, and then the Purple Drapes, and then I think we obviously had to cut it off because of reasons, but at the end of the song, isn't he screaming it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But again, I dug it, even though it was one of the shorter ones. So. Hey, somebody might have to explain this one to me, but somehow got 172 points on the old AMA. So someone asks him, he says, "Did you have to salt the earth so nothing would ever grow again?"
It's a fair question.
What? And of course he responds with he. Yeah. So is someone making a Simpsons reference?
Of course they are.
Oh, okay. All right then. That's all I have.
You want to give 50 words or less on salting the earth? Because I vaguely remember that.
Give me a second. I'm trying to remember the specifics of the episode. The episode is... It's season 11, episode 11, Faith Off. I believe this is the episode where... Oh, God, I can't remember the specifics. But I remember the scene. The scene in question, Homer's trying to make a float for a parade. And he doesn't have enough flowers, so he steals the flowers from the garden of Ned Flanders. Ned comes out and sees him working on it. He goes, Did you have to take my flowers? Well, I wasn't going to get them anywhere else. Homer gives a flippant remark, and Ned's response is, "Oh, true enough, but did you have to salt the earth so nothing would ever grow again?"
He went over, stole his flowers, then salted the flower bed. Okay.
Yes.
What a jerk.
Speaking of salty flower beds, Robert Cooper, what'd you think?
No, they said I had to plant the tulips. Sorry, I'm tickling at my own bullshit at this point. The whiplash of this song was very nice. No reference to what Mark was referencing earlier. I liked it, though. I kind of like favorite word that we've used tonight is how just any form of the word different that we can find. Yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed how really different this song was compared to the other ones. It's neat.
It is neat. All right, we are getting to the last four here. Gonna barrel through these. This next one's called Here's Pasta Noose from De La Soul. No, just kidding. Here's the noose. This is a very layered song, right, Coop? You know, it's they definitely added some more instrumentation, some different layers. It definitely seems like it was competently and artistically produced. Not something you heard on the first album.
Yeah, like really the one song that I loved off that first album, the single, White Wine Spritzer. Like when listening to it, I'm like, this is funny and it's catchy. But like every time I went back to it, it's just, I would just find like, okay, this is the joke, this is the beat, this is the synth beat this is the one synth rhythm we could come up with, and that's the song. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a little bit of that still prevalent in this album. Like, even though I did love Reading Education, like, it is so catchy. Mm-hmm. It kind of smelt of that in a few ways. Like, it still felt like it had those vestiges of, this is a good joke. I found these guys. They like the joke. We can kind of make music. It's okay.
I've been harassing my family with the Reading Education line all night. Like, I told my son comes in the house from playing. He's like, I'm done playing outside. There's too many bugs out. I'm getting bitten alive. I'm coming inside. And I'm like, Jonas, come here. He's like, what? Like, I come here. I need to tell you a secret. He's like, no, I know where this is going.
He's like, Dad, you're driving this into the ground. Please stop.
He didn't. No, not even so much that. He just knew that he knew that whatever it was some sort of crazy thing I was going to say to him. And he was like, I don't trust you anymore. I'm not coming anywhere near you. I'm like, Jonas, get over here. I'm your father. You'll do as I say. And he kind of just mopes over. He's like, what do you want? And I grabbed him and I shook him and I'm like, are you ready for Reading Education? And he's like, what's that? And then I tried to drill my finger into his forehead.
I have to stop you there. Your prospectus for drilling to perform the lobotomy is just barbaric. There's really a better way to do it.
Go through the nose?
No, through the eye.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta go
the bone.
Well, no, you don't want to go through the forehead. Obviously, it's the strongest bone in the body. But it's my son, and I'm not really trying to damage his cranium.
No.
Weirdo.
Look. You don't actually go. You insert the metal spike, very thin. You don't go through the eye proper, but you can get kind of around it and go through the muscle. And the bone around the surface of your ocular cavity is some of the thinnest in your entire face. Okay. Just a good quick knock with the hammer. You scramble it around. You pull it out. They get a black eye for a week, and that's the only cosmetic damage.
So I'm not trying to really give my son a full frontal lobotomy, right?
Not yet.
Look, get ahead of it, man. Don't wait until he's a teenager. Then he can fight back.
Yeah, then he might be able to get away. So
I actually wrote a paper on ice pick lobotomies once. That was cool.
Oh man, I watched an episode of Lore. I think it's on Prime.
Wait a minute. Did you say an episode of Law and Order?
No, sir. But they talk. Coming up on the most recent source material, you'll get to hear Mark's rendition of Law and Order theme song. So, yeah, Dr. Walter Freeman. Oh, my goodness. So they did like a whole episode on just, he would turn lobotomies out in like 20 minutes.
Nice.
You can do it faster than that depending on just how sterile you want to be. I haven't seen any of these stuff on Amazon, but I've listened to all the episodes on their in podcast format. Mm-hmm. Lore's a great show. Mm-hmm. Listen to that, not this.
So we were watching MasterChef, and I did the same. My daughter came in shortly after my son, and I'm like, "Come here." Now this dimwit comes right over. Okay, my son.
She trusts her dad. I don't understand.
My son.
You will disabuse her of that notion.
My son completely sketched, just does not trust me one single bit, and was wise not to. My daughter, dumb as shit, walked right over to me, and I grabbed her and I went, prepare for. And she's like, "Stop it! You're scaring me." And I'm like, "You're too easy." Too easy. You ever do that, Jesse? You ever grab one of your sons and just yell into their face some random quote?
I leave that to you, Mark Radlich.
That's how I raise my children, to be, anxious.
He will be planning a trip to Ohio in the near future to grab your children by the shoulders and yell out.
I can't wait.
Oh, I'm going to hide in a corner somewhere when Caleb goes to use the Xbox. I'm just going to spear him into the ground and go, prepare for Reading Education.
And Well, he will cry bloody murder. Trust you me, sir.
And then do a Fortnite dance just so he feels at home.
The other thing I might do is I might just like run through your house in my underwear, going, "This is how I dance when I'm not wearing any pants, and I'm not going to wear no pants." So get ready for that.
Oh, God,
If you are
why?
coming to my house, pants will be on, sir. That's
But who's
unfortunately a requirement. I don't care as long as the dude's wearing pants.
Okay, no, Jesse, you are now the devil because you are propagating pants, which are the devil.
That's right.
Oh my
Yeah.
apologies.
That's illegal with this podcast.
Pants are the devil's garment. Speaking of the devil's garment, you, last word. Here's the news. Go.
This comes from a very early episode of The Simpsons, Season 3, Episode 3, When Flanders Failed. This is the episode where Ned opens up the Leftorium for the first time, fails miserably, and then Homer, in an act of generosity at the end, tells all the left-handed people of Springfield about the store, which he opened in a mall, and I think we all know how well that business model's doing at this point in time.
Retail apocalypse.
But the scene in question is a barbecue that he hosts, and I think the first lines from the song actually are "Fee fi fo fum, I smell potatoes au gratin a la Marge Simpson," which is a line from which is what Ned says when Marge comes up with the aforementioned dish. But he takes off the tie that he's wearing. He holds a bit of he gives a bit of a speech. Says, "I held this because this is the last day of my work at the pharmacy." So for those curious, Ned was a pharmacist before he was a proprietor of left-handed memorabilia. He proceeds to, and he refers to his tie as the noose. He tosses it onto the barbecue. It immediately goes up in flames. I think he makes a joke about asbestos, but don't quote me on that. And that's all it is. But they get some pretty decent mileage out of just the phraseology they use. Ned uses in that instance.
All right, Jesse, take me home, baby doll. Here's the news.
Oh my goodness.
So the way that this podcast is recorded, you guys didn't hear me say this next song is called Pasta News from De La Soul. Get it? Remember that? De La Soul, Pasta News.
No.
3 feet high. No, I know you don't listen to black stuff, but
They have
does.
been blacklisted from like whatever YouTube, fucking Spotify. You cannot find any of their albums anywhere.
You can't find any De La Soul.
De La Soul is, dude. Have you tried to find De La Soul on YouTube?
I know 3 Feet High and Rising's not on Spotify, which is a fucking crime. But
I think there's some kind of like weird rights stuff going on there where I don't know.
who would have thunk that the fucking rapping hippies from the 80s can't, would have rights issues where they can't get their music on Spotify? All right,
Very strange.
Go ahead. Here's the news.
Who'd have thought a bunch of hippies didn't actually plan ahead in terms of what contracts are and what perpetuity means?
Listen,
you
I don't-
stoned out bunch of losers.
Listen, I know you don't deal with anything having to do with the black culture, but if you had heard 3 Feet High and Rising, these guys didn't plan shit.
That would be the joke I was making, Mark.
I'm not a fan of Here's the Noose. Just I'll keep it short and sweet. Not a big fan of it. I'm more of a fan of the next song that's coming up. So somebody asked Head Ned, what were some other band names you guys considered when first starting? Head Ned says, thanks for the question. We actually never intended to start a band based on it. It was a running joke of imagining the worst band name for a death metal band to walk on stage.
Well, we now know who Robert Winfree's new hero is.
I love this guy so much.
So some of the ideas that they had initially, he says, I think some of those were the Wiggliest Worms or the Blueberry Boy. Someone said Okilly Dokilly when we realized we could fit the word kill in the name twice and call it Nedal. We started to move the idea into reality.
Oh my god.
Very
what a
good.
bunch of fucking trolls.
I love these guys.
Troll metal that isn't folk metal. I love it. All right. Robert Cooper, did you speak on Here's the News?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good, actually. Surprising to say that. Which I will say, by the way, the best name I've ever seen for a band live is Horrendous. They just pop in, we are horrendous. And And I just yelled, I wouldn't admit that.
I always thought the best name you told us
Did they
about.
spell it with a W?
Huh?
Did they spell it with a W?
Oh no, they go straight with it.
Okay.
They're pretty awesome too. They're really good.
I still think the best name we ever talked about on here that you brought up was Goat Penis.
I know. I thought John Cougar Concentration Camp was the best one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Chapel, baby. Ass Chapel.
Ass Chapel. That's
Yeah,
another
Ash
one.
Chapel. I just loved that time. It was like, hey, Ronnie Adams, Goat Moon, Goat Penis. It's like, why are there so many damn goat names?
You know, I feel like our podcast and our podcast alone have mentioned John Cougar Concentration Camp and Ash Chapel more times than any other than the bands themselves brought up their own names or any other podcast. So if we're known for something, I'd like to be known for that.
Yep.
So
Wow.
here's our next song. This is called Murder! Diddly Murder! Bad fucking diddly ass. Diddly Erderer. Good stuff.
I agree 100%. I think this is my favorite song off the back half of this album here.
By far.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed, and I wanted to revisit their first album just so I could really do a good job comparing. But we got a good mix of clean and harsh in most of this album. I don't remember that happening.
What a great use of the single bass in that one.
Oh yeah, dude, it stands out. So I mean, just unreal.
Yeah,
it's good.
Tell us about Boy Diddly Oida.
You did that wrong. You improperly conjugated the verb, Mark. Do it again.
Boy Diddly Oida.
There we go. The line in question comes from Season 6, Episode 1, Bard of Darkness. The episode itself is a play on the Jimmy Stewart movie Rear Window. Bart breaks his leg at the beginning of summer vacation and spends it spying on the neighbors. He overhears and sees silhouettes in the Flanders house that leads him to believe Ned has murdered Maud. There's a few lines from this song that play into this. The opening one is Ned going, "Oh my God, I'm a murderer," and Bart, there's this great extended conversation that they don't know they're having. Bart goes, "That can't be right. That's not Flanders. I'm a diddly erdler." Well, it's definitely Flanders. There must be some kind of reasonable explanation for this. Which the other Ned, who can't hear Bart at all, is just exclaiming extemporaneously, "I really wish there were a more rational explanation for this, but I'm a murderer." It turns out he just killed the Maud's, I believe, ficus, just a plant of some variety, and buried it in the backyard. It's a giant misunderstanding. But as they're going through the end, and they're kind of lining up all the pieces and how they got misinterpreted, Bart goes, "Well, what about that horrible girlish scream I heard?" And Ned's immediate response is, that's a bit of a melon scratcher. I can't tell you. Then at that point, I believe it's Lou, the black cop, comes in with the disposed of tree. Chief, we found the body. And Ned then proceeds to scream like a girl.
Oh, jeez.
This has a pretty great Homer line in it, actually. As they're about to wrap that up, he goes, "Just a minute, Flanders. There's still the question of your missing wife." Maud had just been on vacation or something, and she's back, and she's literally standing next to him as he says this. She goes, "I'm right here, Homer." And to which Homer responds, "Oh, well, I guess that just wraps up everything in a neat little package then, doesn't it?" I meant that seriously. I know it kind of sounded sarcastic.
That's good stuff. What did you think of the song?
I love the bass, man. Like, that's a really great bass line they hit for, especially at that intro. That is some great stuff.
Yeah. All right, Cooper, I think wait, Jesse, was there anything else on this? Any AMA?
No, I can give you another little AMA here. Someone asked them he says, "Are you the ones dressed in hazmat suits when you're setting up all do you all have roadies?" And Ned said, "Yes, they are the ones that wear the hazmat suits and bring in their own stuff. So they are their own rodeo active crew."
Terrific. All right, Cooper.
Trolls.
Tell me what you thought of Murdiddly Oida.
That's a fucking killer bass line.
Yeah.
Like that melts my pantaloons.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Like that was it had a really good like kind of Tool vibe to it in terms of just that beginning bass.
Yeah, and I normally fucking can't stand Tool, but I actually
really
enjoyed that. Yeah,
I've never met anybody that hates Tool.
Yeah, I like some Tool.
Well,
yeah, my girlfriend loves Tool.
Well, you're both wrong.
Well, I mean that's fine. I really enjoy Tool, but we can't all.
Listen, I'm not afraid to tell people when they're wrong. Your opinion's the wrong one. Speaking of the wrong one, this is the wrong God.
Wrong one to fuck with.
In the wrong place, prayed to the wrong God, kneeled in the wrong place, prayed to the wrong God.
So, I've said it all before, but it bears repeating. Really, really good there. Very doomy. Good bass. It's got that really cool bass to it. That's probably the spine of the whole thing. A little bit of a weird tempo for me, but it works here. Before we get to this last track, I'm going to give you my impressions of the entire album because honestly, they needed to cut this next one. I don't know why it's on.
Wow.
I don't know why it's on here.
No, Mark, you are wrong.
No, It's,
Your
Didn't they
opinion
do
is
some-
wrong.
this is
And we're not
Ailstorm.
afraid to tell you when your opinion is wrong.
I don't know
swear
why
they
you would
did
say
something
such.
like this on the previous album, though.
I don't know.
swear that they did.
Okay, first of all, I don't know why you would say such a dicky thing like oh, you're wrong. But
I can't imagine where I might have learned that behavior.
really, yeah, I
You
don't
know,
know.
I really
last
feel I was
15 minutes.
inspired by a great source.
Let me stop bouncing this ball for a second. No, this next one, like, this feels like, this. I know Jesse's fucking obsessed with this. So I'm going to say it, and he's like, "You're no fun, sir." To which I say, "Pfft." But this is this vocally.
You get mad when that's my response to you saying I'm no fun.
Okilly Dokilly is like Ailstorm for dogs. I like, but
Oh,
why?
Which is
God, I
perfect.
love Hailstorm.
Dude, they... Go ahead, Mark.
So this really should have been the last track on here, to which I would give this album an A-. I think it's much better than Howdilly Twodilly. I thought this was a much more competent, much more mature album for this kind of a band, and I really enjoyed it, despite it not necessarily all the way being in my wheelhouse. And I thought that if they had just ended it here, it would be perfect. But instead, we get this ridiculous fucking Okilly Dokilly.
You know, your wife probably really likes Okilly Dokilly.
She definitely likes Sister Hazel, I'll tell you that much. All right, real quick, let's get back to Wrong God for a second there, Winfree.
This is actually a really great line that they've kind of chosen here, because it's almost a throwaway setup in the episode in question. This comes from season 8, episode 17, My Sister, My Sitter. Not an all-time great episode. But Lisa just becomes a babysitter and winds up being left in charge of Bart and Maggie while Marge and Homer go to a thing, and Bart resents this because he's a vindictive little shithead. And again, bad stuff ensues. But to get this thing going, again, kind of the impetus is Lisa's been expressing a desire for more responsibility. There's a knock at the door. It's Ned, and he's talking with Homer, and he says, hey, Homer. This is like one of my favorite interactions between Ned and Homer that no one remembers. Hey, Homer. So Maude and her mother, I think it's her mother, cousin, aunt, some group, were just taking a trip through – we're on vacation in the Holy Land. This is the type of line they could never get away with today. And I guess they must have kneeled in the wrong place or prayed to the wrong god, and now they're being held hostage by radicals.
No.
Well, that really, that's not. And Homer's response, well, if held hostage by terrorists, huh? Well, if I were you, I'd kick their asses. Well, yeah, I mean, look, the consulate assures me it's a routine hostage taking. I just got to go down there to the embassy, sign some paperwork, and it'll all be cleared up, in the next few hours. But I can't leave Rod and Todd alone. I'm wondering if you could, watch the little ones while I deal with this. Well, I'd really love to want to help you, Flanders, which again is just like my favorite Homer line ever. But he proceeds to go on then. But Marge was kidnapped in the Holy Land, and Lisa pipes up and says, I'll do it, and things progress from there. But just the subtle kind of nuance of I'd love to want to help you.
What'd you think of the song?
I get why you guys like it. Again, this is not a bad song. It's just not necessarily my particular cup of tea. Okay. I love the beginning. Again, bits of the setup, and then when they have the non-growly singer kind of provide a nice counterpoint vocally, I think it kind of works. But I think this is a song that I believe it's one of the longer ones on the album, because there's a few that are like 90 seconds. This one I think is 3 minutes and change?
5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, my mistake. I'm misremembering. I feel this song drags the longer it goes, but there's definitely bits to it that really, again, they really do kind of work, and they provide wonderful bits of counterpoint to there's other members within the band. And there's some nice guitar stuff that gets done in this song.
Jesse.
I thought the vocals were interesting there at the beginning. Like, they really changed some stuff up, it felt like. Just I don't know. It felt very kind of like Alice in Chains, Lane Staley-ish, in my opinion.
I didn't do it all again. Yeah.
One of Mark's favorite bands.
Ow.
And they apparently love us.
I've heard they come to kill the rooster.
No.
They came to kill our podcast at one point.
Yeah, they're the reason why I don't advertise this on Twitter anymore.
Bunch of dicks.
Indeed. But yeah, I enjoyed Wrong God. I thought it was all right.
All right, Cooper, take me home, baby doll.
Anything for you, baby. It was good. It was good. I really felt like the previous few tracks kind of eclipsed it, but at the same time, it was a decent finale, or at least in Mark's eyes, a finale. I mean, it was all right. I felt like the other two tracks before were a lot more substantial, but this one was good. It was good. It's good.
All right, now we're going to go from the sublime to the idiotic. Here we go. This is Stupid Folkily, Stupid Dokilly.
It's a fucking gimmick band, for shit's sake.
Reminder that Mark has defended the Transformers franchise.
Oh, God.
In all seriousness, if you're not slapping your knee along with that beat line, you're just more dead inside than I am.
That's right. There's no hope.
I was tapping my foot, but I also felt like there should have been a bunch of river dancers, drinking beers and.
I'm going to save this entire song for you, Mark. I can.
Okay.
I believe it or not, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I can tell. Here's the genius of this song. This is not an original composition by the band.
Right.
This is an actual song that Ned, Maude, Rod, and Todd sing at Homer.
Oh,
in
nice.
Season 4, Episode 3, Homer the Heretic.
That is perfect.
They show up at his door, they knock on it, and I think the only thing they add musically to this is when he originally does it, he just says, "Hey, neighbor, I heard about your heresy." And then just kind of goes into the song with his wife and kids to bring his neighbor back into the fold. And then that bit at the end when they say the heathen is getting away, that's Homer like getting into his car and driving off. But no, this is actually mostly just the song that they sing. Ned has an acoustic guitar that they sing in this episode when Homer becomes deeply heretical. It all spawns from him just deciding to not go to church one day, and it's the worst day ever to be in church. The radiator breaks. The furnace breaks down. It's minus 50 before the wind chill kind of thing, and he's just toasty in his bed like a cinnamon bun. And so again, this is not an original composition by the band necessarily. This is them lifting a song that Ned Flanders actually sings from the television show.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
Look, it only works as part of the gimmick. It really does. I'm not going to deny that, but as part of the gimmick, it's great.
It's fine.
Besides, Mark, you love covers.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, no kidding.
All right,
No such thing as a bad cover.
Calm down there, Starcher. I mean, it's fine. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on it. Maybe I'm a little tired, a little cranky. I'm sorry. I've had brain fucking MRIs and CAT scans and blood draws, and they want more blood from me, people. People.
It's not like you make more on a relatively consistent basis.
What you need, sir, is a nice glass of warm milk.
I do.
And a full frontal lobotomy.
I could go for one of those right now. All right, it's fine. I'm not going to be too hard on it. I mean, I don't know. I miss the days where a track like this would be 20 minutes into, or track 100 on the CD, things like that. hidden tracks, that sort of thing. That's what this should have been.
Well, it's a digital age, Mark. You can't have that.
No, but that's one of the few things that makes me miss physical media. But speaking of physical media, Jesse, what do you got for me?
All right. Last, I'll go ahead and read my last part of the AMA, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So, of course, one of the top questions they asked Head Ned is, what is your favorite Ned episode? And his response is Hurricane Nettie. Says,
oh, yes!
Oh, my.
He says,
I love that episode.
Orgasm.
Lots of great Ned moments, and my second favorite Lenny moment. When he walks up,
I just got here.
he says, he walks up, and Ned says, I don't even know you, but I'm sure you're a jerk.
Oh yeah, that episode features the most, one of the greatest moments in Simpsons history, is Ned Flanders finally losing his mind and going off on everyone around him.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Moment.
I remember that.
Yeah, I don't even know you, but I'm sure you're a jerk. Lenny's response is, hey, I just got here. What's going on?
That's not nearly as good as
on everyone.
But that's not nearly as good as the one guy who went off on Homer and then at the end electrocuted himself.
Frank Grimes.
Yeah.
No. This is better because this is everybody. Honestly, my favorite burn that Ned throws down in that entire his roast of the other Simpsons, like his one of Homer is the most cutting to everyone except Homer. When he just tells Homer, you're the worst person I've ever met. And Homer just goes, hey, I got off kind of easy. But I mean, no, he tells Marge, like, no, we're supposed, I can't feed my family with your good intentions, Marge. Your place is out of control. Your kids are little heathens, but we can't say anything because you've got good intentions. Bart jumps in, hey, back off my mom, man. Sorry, dude. Wouldn't want you to have a cow, man. Here's a catchphrase for your adult years. Hey, buddy, got a quarter? Lisa pipes up, Mr. Flanders, with all due respect, Bart didn't... Oh, is that the sound of butting in I hear? It must be little Lisa Simpson, Springfield's answer to a question no one asked.
Perfect. My goodness. So
and he goes on, he hits everyone else. Oh, the cop. The last case you got to the bottom of was a case of Malamars. Oh, the clown. Ironically, the only one who doesn't make me laugh. He looks at Moe. Like, this is another great one. He looks at Moe. You ugly, hate-filled man. And Moe's response is, hey, I may be ugly and hate-filled, but, wait, what was the third thing? It is, Hurricane Nettie is an absolute classic, and I really do hope that they do an entire album based just around his losing his mind and burning everyone around him like that.
There you go. Write them on Twitter. I have your third album in mind.
You can even include all the burns he gets he throws out after he checks himself into the mental facility.
You can call it "Here Comes the Story of Hurricane Nettie,"
or because there has to be a track that's just. You could even say "I hate the post office."
Jeez.
Jesse, did you have anything else?
Final thoughts. Howdilly Twodilly is a big step up for the band. I bet if you're into metalcore and you're into the Simpsons, this is probably going to be a jackpot for you. You can tell their sophomore effort feels like it has more love, thought, layering, and technicality compared to their first entry, and I really rather did enjoy it.
Take me home, Daddy-O.
Yeah, I mean, this song was fun. It was fun. That's really what it is. I gotta say, still the worst song that I ever ran across in terms of hidden in the album was when I was mowing my grandma's lawn, listening to the first Slipknot album. That hidden track is like 20 minutes into that last song after Silence. I thought the CD player was broken.
That's the worst.
I've had those.
Really...
Oh my god! I think the first time I ever discovered a hidden track was on Nirvana's "Nevermind, Shut Up, Winfree," and
it's almost like Kurt Cobain was he was a drugged out junkie who was of absolutely no use to anyone ever. The world's better off without him.
He gave some painters a pretty good time.
It's a shame he was murdered. Anyway.
Oh.
Look, he killed himself. Get over it.
You get over it. You probably killed him.
I never had.
I bet you took the money. I bet you did in 1994.
1994, I was 9, and I would have.
I know you would have. You
It's like, give me the gun.
you sick murdering bad. You probably lived in Seattle too. I know you've roamed a bit.
Not in 94.
There you go, see?
I did live just outside Seattle when I was 3, 4?
You know, there's no statute of limitations on murder. I'll call the Seattle police and have them reopen the case.
They won't.
I got a new suspect.
Yeah.
They declared it suicide. They're all happy to declare it suicide because it was a suicide. You bunch of conspiracy theorists.
You're a suicide. All right.
That doesn't make sense.
I think we're done here. I think we've all had our final says. Yeah. Moving on.
It was a good album.
It was a good album. All right. Just because I want to go to bed, I'm going to make this really quick. The next couple of albums we'll be doing are the new Rammstein, then the week after that, the new Amon Amarth. And then maybe we're doing Upon a Burning Body. I don't know at this point. It's my schedule's a little touch and go. So we'll see what happens, but that's slated on the schedule, the ever changing fluid schedule. We've also got shows for the Dark Phoenix saga, the movie The Dark Phoenix. We've got an on trial for X-Men 3. I talked Rob into doing boxing coverage this weekend, so if we can get home from my wife's friends, neighbors, kids' graduation party, we're going to be doing commentary for Fury versus Schwartz. Next week, we've got Law & Order Gotham on the source material. We'll be reviewing... Bum, 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 bum. What do you call it? On the 18th, we've got Men in Black International, and then we're all getting together, having a little picnic. It's called Toxic Fandoms on the Screaming Boy podcast. We got Heroes in Crisis, Toy Story 4. Myself and Jesse are going to be looking at Black Mirror Season 5. And then depending on what happens with my schedule, we may or may not be doing Jessica Jones. First the comic, then the show. And
Look,
then
can we just... I'm just saying, we don't have to. We all know it's a turkey. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not actually going to resolve anything. The whole series was dead on arrival at this point. I'm surprised they went through the effort of renewing it after season 2. Let's just let it die peacefully, alone, and filled with bullet holes.
We'll see. Maybe you should wish harder for me to have more cancer, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, I got you into that test group, didn't I?
This is true. All right, Jesse. You know what, Robert? Real quick, and then really, I mean, like, quick. Do your plugs.
Mark mentioned boxing coverage on Saturday. This Sunday, most Sundays, I am the host of the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast that Mark thinks it was terrible and was happy to be rid of. He referred to it constantly as the growing millstone around the neck of the Radlich and Broadcasting Network. So I took that one.
Couldn't wait to delete it from my podcast list.
That I actually believe. Gimmicks aside, that I have no trouble believing. We'll be previewing UFC on ESPN Plus 11, 12? I don't know anymore. 12.
15, 15.
There'll be this
number
is the
9,
UFC's
number 9.
It's number 8, followed by Belches from Barney.
I don't even know who the fuck these people are. Moisiano versus Young.
Okay, stop it, for the love of God. It's Hanato Moicano and the Korean Zombie.
Oh, okay, got it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just the co-main event is really good. It's John Lineker and Rob Font. I'm expecting violence. That'll be a good one.
He decides.
Did you say John Lineker and the Fonz?
Rob Font.
Hey, he's gonna beat you like a jukebox.
Hey,
Hey, the Fonz covered in bees. So we'll be previewing that card. It's not a great card. It's really not. If you are interested in MMA, you can hear my review of UFC 238, which was an exceptional card, the best one the UFC's put on in a while, in terms of just pay-per-view main cards, apart from Tuivasa versus Blogoi, even of which only Mark was entertained by, because Mark's taste in fights is roughly akin to his taste in movies. Terrible. So tune in for that if you're so interested. And this Tuesday on Damn You Hollywood, we're doing it's Men in Black International this week.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not looking all that good, actually.
Nope.
Look, I'm prepared to accept that the tomato meter could be very, very wrong on this, given that it is fundamentally a comedy, and that's who cares what critics say if it makes you laugh. That's fair. But
does it make you think?
Of course not. It's Men in Black.
I mean, every trailer's shown the same scenes. What's the worst thing that could happen?
There's nothing besides the trailer scenes.
All right, you good?
Yeah, that's it for me. So
Robert Cooper, go.
On this podcast every once in a while. I think I'll even come back next week when I'm on vacation number 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be nice. 2 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, beyond that, there's Stuff is the only thing I'm on besides the occasional blonde and/or Lowe's. So, hey.
He fucks his girlfriend, everybody. Did you catch that?
Oh, jeez.
No.
You know, I do have to bring this up. It's amazing how his microphone works perfectly when he's bragging about his sexual exploits.
Well, yeah, because...
What do you think of this song? Murmur, 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 murmur. How's your girlfriend? I fucked her hard and long.
Oh.
Well, more hard than long, but... But that's what I was saying. Like, guys, you got to guide me on which way to go because I don't know where my microphone needs to be. Yeah, but yeah, the storm has passed, so we're good. We're good. I'm
terrific.
now at maximum. I'm at perfect talking distance.
Great. It only took you the whole show.
And no, we had it at the beginning. Remember?
No, it was too long ago. Finish, like your girlfriend said. Finish.
It's garbage day. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. Like, go visit your local hardware store, kids. I'll be loading mulch.
Great. Jesse, start to end this shit show already.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, go give the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page and like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have available out there. We talk wrestling, we talk TV, we talk movies, we talk comics. I'm sure there's something out there that you would enjoy. All you have to do is go to your favorite podcatcher, whether it be Podcoin, heavily touted by Mark Rattlich here. You can get paid for listening to podcasts.
Mark, seriously, the way you shill for them, it does sound like you're reading copy. Are we getting paid by them?
I can't talk about that right now.
There is no we.
I get all the monies.
The premise is apparently you can download this app and you will get paid to listen to podcasts.
That's right.
So,
and we're on there,
what?
man. Just download Podcoin and search for Rattlich. You will find our podcast. And
you'll get paid for listening to us. Trust me.
Finally, it's worth it to listen to our bullshit.
I was going to say, you've suffered long enough for free. Now we can pay you.
I hope you get paid by the hour and not by the podcast, because it's going to take a while to actually make it worth it.
It's by the podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, son of a bitch.
But you only have to listen to at least 10 minutes of a podcast before it'll count as played.
Very good. Very good. Type in RADULICH in any podcast platform.
But use Podcoin.
Yeah, sure. There's iTunes, which apparently is going to die. So I don't know how much longer that's going to be around. But I'm sure in some form or fashion it will be.
Please leave us a 1-star review on iTunes.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to ask for very much.
Everybody asks for a 5-star review. They all beg for a 5-star review. I'd like a 1-star review. Please, and leave a comment that we're all a bunch of fuck knuckles.
Hey.
In all seriousness, just go for the 2.5 and just bombard us with forgettably adequate.
Yeah. Exactly. So we do not stand out from anybody else. That's what we're looking for, just to blend in. But yes, that's all I have. Hey, I'm ready to get out of here. Mark Rattlich, take us on out, buddy.
All right, folks. It's been a show, that's for certain. Be well, be safe, and behave.